Have you ever felt the cold certainty of betrayal before you even had the proof? It's a chill that starts in your gut and spreads through your veins, turning your own home into a hostile, unfamiliar territory. For me, it started with the faint glow of a phone screen at 2 a.m., angled away from me in the bed we'd shared for 12 years. My wife, Sarah, was a fortress of secrets, her face illuminated by a light that wasn't meant for me. I could feel the distance between us growing, an invisible canyon carved by lies I hadn't yet unearthed. The air in our Chicago brownstone grew thin, heavy with unspoken words, and the ghost of a man I didn't know. I just didn't realize that Ghost was driving a brand new car paid for by my own future. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel, tell us where you're from, and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. For months, I'd been a ghost in my own life, haunted by the shell of the woman I married. Sarah had become a stranger, her laughter brittle, her touch a fleeting memory. The excuses started small: late nights at the office, weekend trips with girlfriends I'd never heard of. But it was the little things that screamed the loudest. A new, expensive perfume I hadn't bought her. A sudden obsession with her phone, which was now guarded like a state secret. The final thread unraveled on a rainy Tuesday. I'd come home early, hoping to surprise her, but the surprise was mine. A credit card statement lay on the kitchen counter, carelessly discarded. It wasn't our joint account. It was a card in her name I never knew existed. The charges were a roadmap of her deceit: intimate dinners at Gibson S Bar and Steakhouse on Rush Street, hotel rooms at the Peninsula, and a recurring charge that made my blood run cold: a monthly payment to a luxury car dealership. The amount was sickeningly familiar. It was the exact sum I transferred to our savings account every month from my pension. My retirement, our future, was being siphoned away to fund her affair. The humiliation was a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. I sank to the floor, the cold tile pressing against my skin, the flimsy piece of paper in my hand feeling as heavy as a tombstone. In that moment, the man she married died, and someone else, someone colder and more calculating, began to take his place. My grief was a fire, and it would either consume me or forge me into the weapon of my own revenge. I chose the latter. My first step was to play the part of the oblivious, loving husband. I became a master of deception, mirroring her own treachery back at her. I'd ask about her day, listen to her fabricated stories with a patient smile. All the while my mind was a whirlwind of strategy. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who operated out of a cramped office in the Loop. He was expensive, but my future was worth more. While he tailed her, I started my own investigation, digging into our finances. I opened a new bank account and began rerouting my pension deposits. I meticulously documented every withdrawal she made, every dollar she stole. The PI's first report landed in my inbox a week later. The photos were a punch to the gut. Sarah, laughing with a man I didn't recognize, her hand resting possessively on his arm. They were standing next to a gleaming black Audi, the same model from the dealership on her secret statement. His name was Mark. He was a real estate developer, smug and self-satisfied in every picture. They were a cliché, and I was the fool paying for their fantasy. The rage was a living thing inside me, but I buried it deep. I needed to be smart. I contacted my lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Helen, and laid out the evidence. Her eyes hardened as she looked at the photos and financial records. "She's not just cheating, she's committing fraud," Helen said, her voice cold as steel. "We can burn her to the ground, and that's exactly what we plan to do." The trap was set. The final act of our marriage would not be a quiet divorce. It would be a public spectacle of her own making. Sarah's birthday was approaching, and she'd been dropping hints for weeks about a lavish party she wanted at a trendy rooftop bar downtown. It was the perfect stage. I played the doting husband, booking the venue, inviting all our friends and family, even her parents. She was ecstatic, completely unaware that she was planning her own execution. The night of the party was electric. The city lights of Chicago glittered below as our guests mingled, oblivious. Sarah was in her element, the queen of the evening, in a dress that probably cost more than my first car. Mark was there, introduced as a colleague. He shook my hand, a smug little smirk playing on his lips. The audacity was breathtaking. Let them enjoy their moment. the last one they would ever have. At the peak of the evening, I stepped up to the microphone for a toast. A hush fell over the crowd. I raised my glass. "To my beautiful wife, Sarah," I began, my voice steady. "She's a woman who always gets what she wants. She wanted a new life, so she went out and bought one." A confused murmur rippled through the guests. Sarah's smile faltered. I continued, my eyes locked on hers. "She bought it with fancy dinners, secret hotel rooms, and a brand new Audi for her lover, Mark." I gestured towards him, and every eye in the room followed. "And she paid for it all with my pension, the money I was saving for our future." I let the words hang in the air, heavy and poisonous. Then I clicked a remote. A large screen behind me, which had been displaying a slideshow of our happy memories, flickered to life. It showed the PI's photos, the bank statements, the car dealership receipts, an undeniable chronicle of her betrayal. Gasps echoed across the rooftop. Sarah's face was a mask of horror, her skin pale as death. Her parents stared, mouths agape. Mark looked like a cornered animal. My final move was a signal to two uniformed officers who had been waiting discreetly by the entrance. They moved through the crowd and stopped in front of a stunned Sarah and Mark. "Sarah, you're being served," I said, my voice devoid of all emotion as a process server handed her the divorce papers. "And the police have a few questions for you about financial fraud." The chaos that erupted was everything I had envisioned. Sarah was ruined, her social circle shattered, her reputation incinerated. The legal battle was brutal, but the evidence was overwhelming. She lost everything. Her savings, and any claim to my assets. The fraud charges stuck, leaving her with a criminal record. I never saw her again after the final court date. Sometimes, late at night, I walk past that rooftop bar. The laughter and music spill out into the street, but for me, it's a silent monument to the day I took my life back. The cold satisfaction of revenge is not a fire. It's a quiet, empty room. The end.